I'm not some crybaby, whiny, airheaded girl.
Whiny crybaby?
What? Yeah! Yeah! What? What was that?
Sorry. I tried to scare you, but then your reaction scared me.
Huh?
Well, I think that sums up their relationship pretty nicely.
Now that's comedy.
Yes, to finally talk about the game that I bought an entire console for. Although Danganronpa is known to be a hybrid visual novel series, this aimed to be a sort of spin-off that brought action to the franchise, where you would use a hacking megaphone to destroy the many monokumas. And for a game you'd think you shouldn't pay much attention to, I know a lot of fans thought this was going to be a non-canon spin-off. Well, they were wrong. So very, very wrong. The game was revealed in 2013, and it looked very different to the final product in terms of UI and attacks. The team wanted to break free from the other two games' style and just try something different, but it was still the exact same development team, with Kodaka writing the whole game, and the same artist and composer back for more. Wait, was that?
It doesn't matter.
The game itself follows Komaru Naegi.
According to what I've heard, the world is round. But is that really true?
Oh god, no. And from her design, she might seem familiar, because, well, she's the sister of the main character from the first game.
I'm a completely normal high school girl.
Alright, we get it, you're his brother, okay. But hang on, wasn't Makoto's sister shown off in the first game, where she looked a little different? Now she's the main character, with that stupid dumb antenna.
Aww, you don't have to be so mean about it.
Now, before I continue, I want to say, this game does spoil a lot from Danganronpa 1. I mean, it takes place between the first two. So by knowing about this game, just from the characters, it already has spoilers to that game, so just a warning in that this video will contain spoilers for both Danganronpa 1 and 2, since stuff in those games are key for this one's story. Well, then Komaru is trapped in a room.
Let me out! Let me out! Let me out! Let me out! Let me out!
Through her dialogue, she states she's been trapped here for a year. But it all changes when the door breaks open and a monokuma barges on through. Oh, it's fine. See? Such a dumb bear. Oh no. So after running away, Komaru is saved by Byakuya Togami, who now works for the Future Foundation. Keep in mind this does take place between 1 and 2, but it came out after the second game, so things like the survivors of DR1 working for the Future Foundation is already known to us. And as you'll see, the world is in utter chaos, as this is what the gang from DR1 faced when they escaped Hope's Peak Academy, and now they work for Future Foundation to resist the despair. So for the longest time, fans were very confused as to what even was this tragedy, and as to why the world was in despair. Like, how could one girl cause all this? And as I explained in my previous video, bits of it were thrown into non-video game material. However, this was the first game that didn't have to be a killing game and could finally explain to fans in a video game format. And well, some of the stuff in the outside world is intense, to put it lightly. For now, he gives Komaru the hacking gun, as these monokumas are just machines that speak Japanese. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't dub them all. But the gun is able to overwrite them and destroy the bears. He then sends us down before he is seemingly captured, where Komaru then runs into a cafe where everything seems normal.
Hello? Police? Some suspicious girl is...
Surprise!
Well, damn. So I think it was to lower the rating but also add to the pink blood psychopop aesthetic. The NPCs are shown as a single colour. It at least lets them save on resources making generic models, but even low detailed, these scenes depict more violence not seen in the older static games. Ultra Despair girls can be actually quite horrifying at times. Well, the room is full of monokumas, so I guess with our super overpowered gun we can take them all out. And we then see on TV a broadcast where these 5 small kids seemingly have killed the reporters and are parading them around. I guess they are the cause of all the panic? Okay then. Komaru then makes her way out and finds a Future Foundation helicopter, and after telling them her name and how scared and normal she is, you have to understand she doesn't have any ultimate talents and really just is a citizen caught up in this mess. But the nice people will fly her out. Right? Of course not. And so the Monokumas capture her.
Hey. Can you hear me? Are you okay?
Oh no, not him again! This is the, servant. Nice hand warmer on your left hand, buddy. And he gives us the hacking gun back.
However, it was a bit too powerful. I made a few modifications for game balance purposes.
God damn it, you and your fourth wall jokes. I just want my OP gun back. So now the megaphone has these different bullets you slowly obtain over time, and not all of them are for blasting. Amazingly, there are quite a few of them that offer different mechanics, which I'll get to later on. He then tells us to go ahead and meet everyone, and we see it's those kids from earlier. And yeah, they are the ones who caused this whole mess. Let's just say they have a lot of trauma, and as such hate the adults, calling them demons, and well, want to kill every single one of them. For Komaru, they put a bracelet on her and say that they're gonna hunt her down for fun, in the hit game called Demon Hunting. I'm really shocked Capcom didn't sue you for this. So the 5 themselves, well, they went to Hope's Peak Elementary, an unaffiliated school that searched for child prodigies, where you have arts and craft, child actor, PE, social studies, and Lil Ultimate Homeroom. Or in other words, she gets what she wants from the others. And just like that, they plunge Komaru down to be hunted in their sick game. However, on the rooftop with all the Monokumas, it seems we aren't alone. So this is Toko Fukawa from Danganronpa 1 who survived that killing game, and she saves us from the bears because, well, she's got a split personality with a serial killer. I mean, I'm not questioning it, because this is amazing news, as we now have a better way to fight the bears. She says she can control her other self with a stun gun, so with the press of the triangle button, we switch to her, with the batteries draining the more we use her. But going back to Komaru,
A subway?
I guess I should explain her weird megaphone gun. So like I said, you get these special truth bullets that change what type of shot the gun does. The main ones are break for normal bullets, and move, which is used for puzzle solving, as it can change electronics. Now apart from move, every single other bullet you get is limited, with refills coming from these machines randomly. I did find at times it was challenging because you would run out of bullets, especially if your aim is bad. Now as to the other ones, you get knockback, which pushes the enemies back. Dance, which makes the bears do the trademark dance and stand still. Paralyze to shock enemies, which works well in water. Burn as a rapid fire gun.
That Monokuma is flying?
They fly now!
Detect for scanning secrets, and Link, which actually lets you control the bears. And you can upgrade these by equipping these things in combinations. Now to actually attack, you have to hold the left trigger to ready her shot, then the right trigger to shoot, while the D-pad changes the bullets. And man, this can take quite a while to get used to. Komaru's turning speed with this is very slow. You can however get skills to equip that increase speed, but please, whatever you do, don't equip the auto lock on. It's very bad in big areas, especially when you want to focus on one enemy like a boss. So then with Toko, it's more of a way to have limited easier combat, where you can just button mash to attack enemies. It doesn't feel as fluid as other hack and slashes, but it still functions. And if you build up the gauge, you can press the left trigger with triangle or X to do a special copyright-free move. And honestly, while immensely fun to watch, I didn't use these after a while. They take way too long for their animations, and it was just quicker to attack herself. Now Toko here actually came to save you, for some unknown reason that's explained in the story later, and the two of you now have to work together to make it through all the things the kids throw your way. And how the levels work is that they are fairly linear streets, and you run through them defeating Monokumas, while also solving puzzles here and there. Some of these puzzles are in the arcade rooms where after checking the monitor, it shows what you should do, and what equipment you should use to defeat the bears. But I often found this very finicky. Like here I'm meant to attract the bears and then electrocute them in the water, but being spotted means that even though I only used move and paralyze, I didn't get the congratulations screen. It just just felt very restrictive in what it wanted you to do. Now, throughout the journey, you will see these kids with monokuma-like helmets. And no, they are not trying to cosplay their favorite bear. They are pretty evil, but sometimes not so, handing you challenges and presents. It seems they also control the mechanical killing bears, so just be weary of these kids, okay?
Jeez, you're awfully excited.
And as you go on, the enemies also diversify, with many variations of monokuma, like a riot shield one, bomber, and an actual ball, literally a ball. Oh my god, it's so menacing. And yeah, this ain't creepy at all. Now, for the most part of the early game, these are the two characters you spend the most time with, and the game does wonders with this. Komaru starts off as a normal girl who is incredibly selfish, like I was actually surprised at how self-serving she was, while Toko, well, you know her from Danganronpa 1. Now, the great thing about this is that in Danganronpa, most characters have one personality, and only through the free time events you learn more about them. But those are optional. However, with this game, it was able to make Toko one of my favorite characters in the entire franchise, and her relationship with Komaru and the growth from where they started to where it ended is absolutely amazing. It's honestly one of the highlights from the franchise for me. I think it shows that to people who wrote these characters off as one-dimensional in the killing games, well, they had to be for that genre, but when given the chance, they can be greatly developed. Oh sure, there are still many silly character moments where stuff comes up conveniently to move the plot forward, but after finishing the game again, it's just amazing looking back at where they started and how the game ended. Speaking of which, I guess here as well go into the spoilers for this game, so if you don't want any of that, skip over here. Now, one thing the game does is heavy fan service for those who have played the other games. And no, I'm not talking about the manga style dreams Toko has of Byakuya, or that you see him getting whipped in the chapter ending screens, where he talks down to you depending on your rank in the chapter. Nor am I talking about Nagito and how they cover him in white cream. Kodaka really knows his fan base well. No, I'm talking about the fact that, well, the reason that Komaru was in the apartments was because in DR1, there was a motive for the students where Junko captured their loved ones, and if they didn't kill each other, they would lose them. Well, Komaru was that for Makoto, and throughout the game, you actually see a lot of the other students' loved ones. From hit list cards with a picture of a cousin or a cat, to actual voice characters like Asahina's brother, or Hagakure's sister, mother. Oh my. But I honestly don't know how these screens go over with people who just jumped into this game. Actually, let me know below. Did anyone start with this game, and if so, did you actually go and play the other ones? Because they literally spoil the first case's death. And well, knowing that Makoto, Byakuya, and Toko are alive in this game, kinda ruins it a bit going blind into DR1. So well, they meet Asahina's brother, and he's like, dude, I can totally swim out and leave the island. And he does so, but the wristband on him beeps and kills the boy in one big explosion, meaning there is no way off the island with the bracelet on. And his death actually kickstarts the eventual growth of Komaru from scared, timid girl into someone who is fearless in the face of this despair. Then the game sort of continues on with boss battles every chapter, where you reach places where one of the kids will be waiting for you and they have to fight their giant mechs. Of course, the anime game has mech battles. For the most part, they aren't too bad, with very easy patterns to work out, using some truth bullet you recently got. And once done, the army of kids turn on them, seemingly killing them off. This then leads to the, yikes moments in this game, because, okay. Danganronpa, as one of the more notable hybrid visual novels in the West, was more Japanese than the others, and many things in its games would seem more anime than most, but for whatever reason, this game really pushed that line. So if you played the game, you probably know what I'm talking about a certain character, and stuff she does to Komaru. Yes, this is a full mini-game, but when you learn about her backstory as a child actor, and the abuse and trauma she goes through, I'm not saying it's bad including it, but there should be a point to it, and if it's to shock the audience and give reasons as to why the kids hate adults, then sure. It's just then odd when you have her tripping over in these compromising positions. And then there's also this full minigame you can't fail at, or even when you complete it, the game crashes, so you have to do it all again because there was no save point. It's like the game tries to be serious in its depictions of real kinds of issues, but then you have bits like this dude, where he openly says he likes them younger, as young as possible, and Komaru goes, gee, that's actually kind of attractive, him admitting it.
I mean, bruh, what the actual fuck?
And these moments moments kinda hampered the pacing of the story a bit. Like after this section, they had such a good character building scene between Komaru and Toko, but oh no, let's shock the audience again. Even deeper to the story, the game felt it had to constantly keep reminding you of the despair with these shocking scenes. I do know a lot of people say that this is their biggest criticism of it, well in addition to how wonky the controls feel. I mean seriously, why does the camera recenter button instantly turn you around? It gives you no time to adjust. So then after a few bosses and Monika here not really caring about her buddies losing, the two make their way down and find full white monokuma. So yeah, this definitely ain't suspicious, but to be fair, the bear does a lot of good, helping the two get items and to places further on, eventually leading them to a secret hideout it made where they were saving other adults from the kids. Now conversely, there's also this monokuma painted in one color, acting like a gangster with Monika, and man does he never shut up.
I've gone to 3 times!
I'll get back to these two, but pretty much the plot devolves to, we found these people hiding, we need to inspire them to rise up against the kids, but you know, not like hurt them because they are still kids, brainwashed with the helmets. However, old Cgi the leader ain't having none of that and reveals his secret weapon, a giant monokuma his company built. The game really loves mechs, eh? Now while this is going on, we then have to make it to Toa headquarters and destroy the device that controls the monokumas, so that no more bloodshed happens because these riled up adults seriously are getting a bit out of hand. Now the Toa group themselves, aka Cgi's family company, well they are said to have saved people on the island during the tragedy, and a lot of survivors look up to them. However, making our way through, Komaru amusingly sees the ghost of the now dead CEO, who talks to her. Look, I mean Danganronpa was realistic, but they did like to bend the rules here and there. And surprisingly, the ghost also mentions that Monika is his daughter, meaning that Cgi and her are related. Now here is where we get to the final big end stuff, and well, I gotta say, on my first playthrough it was so baffling, and I can see why a lot of people did write this off as just some spin-off. But replaying it, with what I know from its other media, it was actually really great at filling the plot between Danganronpa 1 and 2. So we know that Junko Enoshima is the big bad, wanting to create a huge tragedy that led to despair. Well, since Monika was abused as a kid, Junko actually came in and became her idol. She then used Monika's position in the Toa company to build all these Monokuma robots to cause the tragedy, which is why we saw that factory just pumping them out. This is how one high school girl could cause all this chaos. However, at the same time, the Toa group also helped build weapons to fight against it, meaning they were profiteering off their own work. Now Monika herself, well, she didn't want that children's paradise that the other kids wanted. No, she just wanted to bring forth the successor to Junko Enoshima. And this whole scheme was just to do that. She wants to create war between the Toa group and Future Foundation through one act, by forcing Komaru to destroy the device controlling all Monokumas. However, since the kids all wear the same technology in their helmets, they will too die. And after a long, terrifying series of choices, you finally decide to not destroy it, despite many people arguing against you. Seriously, the scene was so tense even replaying it. And even when Monika shows how she supposedly killed Komaru's parents, Toko saves her friend from despair, and Komaru then agrees that she wants to save both adults and kids, and thus doesn't destroy the machines. So yeah, in the end, nothing really happens, to the disappointment of Monika and Nagito, who himself orchestrated things, because he wanted a war so that hope could be born from it, kinda opposite from Monika. Cgi then says what I've been saying for a long time.
Hope, despair, I don't care anymore.
Then the two save Tagami and decide to stay in the city to find some way to save everyone there, leading to a potential opening for a sequel. But we know that ain't the case, because well, I go more in depth over here. But after this game, they instead made the Danganronpa 3 anime The End of Hope's Peak. And for what happens to the gang there, well, there's a full episode showing these two, even the kids who survived, and Monika too, who apparently had given up on being Junko 2.0 and yeets herself into space. Yeah, it's a weird cop-out ending for these casts, but to me, the whole anime felt like a cop-out. But check the link in the description or card if you want to know more about my thoughts on it. And as to those bears, well, turns out they both were evil, of course. And the AI in them, well, that was the AI Junko Enoshima in Danganronpa 2, while they were being wheeled away by a certain long-haired individual. But yeah, that's that. The story taking place between DR 1 and 2. And honestly, I think it did a very good job explaining the whole tragedy and the lead up to DR 2. It's also amusing that a lot of fans thought this was going to be a non-canon spin-off before release, meaning not many people played it at launch. But then the DR3 anime came around, and I still remember the discussions when Monica appeared in one episode. People were freaking out. Oh, what, I have to play the game now? Which is probably why the cutscenes of it on YouTube have so many views. People really do love the lore in this series, huh? And also when you beat the game, you get another one of those light novel things, which is canon this time, and details Hagakure meeting Leon's cousin, and it's very interesting. But now to some other things. So the presentation. Well, okay, there's a lot to this. Firstly, I absolutely love the sprites in this game. They are so much more detailed than before, with every character getting so much variety in facial expressions. And you have many scenes in the style of the punishments in the other games, but there was so much more work here, because you know they had to draw every frame before they squash and stretch editing to show the action. You then have some anime cutscenes which are mostly good, and some pre-rendered CGI scenes which were odd. I mean, come on, Nagito's hair isn't that color. Which leads me then to the CGI models themselves. Now, while the sprites are very detailed, the models were kinda plain. I mean, they seemed a bit stiff, and I think the reason is the lighting, which could explain Nagito's hair color. It just looks very lifeless, and whenever they showed the models, I mean, look at this scene and tell me it doesn't look like an MMD fan video you find on YouTube. However, that being said, even with the obvious limitations, I love the aesthetic, with very creative choices in some scenes. I mean, there's actually so much detail in some places. I didn't even realize the backgrounds here with the magical retelling of Junko meeting the kids, but yep, it's here. Not even referenced, but it's just here. The game is just filled with these neat little things if you look around. Speaking of which, there are tons of collectibles. Most though don't give you anything apart from more dialogue, like if you find books and Toko critiques them as the ultimate writer. I will say a lot of character building is here, so I'd recommend exploring as much as you can, which then leads me to the voice acting. So I've mentioned in the other video, but the dub for DR is one of my favorites ever, and honestly, I think this game actually beats them both. The amount of passion that's in this voice acting is insane. The voice actors gave it their all, and I say all because surprisingly, the majority of this game is fully voiced. Yep, nearly every dialogue has a voice, excluding those collectible scenes I mentioned. It was so amazing revisiting this and hearing all those lines voiced. Easily one of my favorite voice acting in any video game. Also to longtime fans of me, this game easily has the most cheesy forms of dialogue.
Cheese!
Cheese. What are you saying?
And finally to the music, I have said before how he is one of my favorite all-time composers, and once again he knocks it out of the park, with remixes of the older songs, plus plenty of original ones, some of them being my favorite in the entire franchise. So then, where do we stand on Danganronpa Ultra Despair, girls? Well, honestly, I have a lot more appreciation of it after replaying the game, aside from the yikes bits. For a team jumping into a new genre with the same creative minds, I was amazed at what they were able to achieve. I only wish they eased up on the whole hope versus despair thing, and focused more on the dynamic between Toko and Komaru, because that was seriously the best. And maybe the controls could have been better implemented. I mean, it's also amusing looking at this concept art Spike Chunsoft provided. It seems that Komaru might have once been really OP, also these buff monokumas. Well, that being said, if you want the story, playing on easy mode recharges the battery when you're in Komaru mode, making the combat very easy to get through. But please, if you want to get into the franchise, do not start here. Just play 1, 2, then this, as it spoils so many things from both games. And well, what's next? I mean, there is the DR3 anime, which I talk about over here, which was kind of disappointing that they ended the whole Hope vs Despair Junko Enoshima saga in an anime, not a video game. But remember at the reveal of this game, they teased a big 3? Well, that could have meant the anime, but I think it's more fair to say this was teasing the third mainline killing game, which is my second favorite game ever, and one that ended a franchise in the most unique and Danganronpa way possible.
A sub? Trojan, RamZaes, Magnum, Sheik.